And welcome into the Thursday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Robbie Stanley alongside Ian Safar. Joe Rexrode will be along here shortly here on the program. We got a lot going on today here on the program. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. We will get into all things NFL with him. So looking forward to that discussion with Charles coming up a little bit later in the program. Taking your thoughts all program along. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, what's going on? What we doing? How's life on this Thursday morning?
Yeah, hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad that you're hanging in there. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing great. Happy game day. Preseason again.
Oh,
tonight.
Yes. Yes, more preseason football tonight. And then we've got preseason football tomorrow night. And then Saturday. We got all kinds of football going on this weekend. It feels like we've arrived. And then you'll watch the preseason football and you're like, oh, we still got quite a bit of ways to go here. But Sunday, too. I mean, this is
I was going to say, we'll probably have a Sunday game, right?
Baby. We got two games on Sunday. We got Dolphins-Bears Sunday and then Saints-Chargers. So we got, four straight days of preseason football here.
So football's on the TV now until the end of Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've made it.
We made it.
Sort of. Interesting that there's no Monday Night Football.
That's true.
When do they start that? I thought, that's a preseason thing, right?
Apparently next week. Next week, the Bengals and Commanders will be on Monday Night Football. So just gotta wait another week for Monday Night Football.
Okay.
So.
And it'll again sound like real football, look like real football on the fringes, and then catch it early. But again, maybe this year we're going to see more of these coaches play more of their players that we actually want to watch.
Maybe so. And, the Colts and the Ravens playing tonight. So you can watch, Anthony Richardson throw that ball around a little bit tonight if you want to. Joe, if you really want to be crazy, you could stay up until 9 o'clock tonight and watch the Raiders and the Seahawks and see if, Dante Thornton gets out there and is a preseason stud and has like 10 catches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns tonight. May have to do it.
Tell you what, that Dante Thornton is a camp story, which is one of those things that you're just like, man, what could have been with that guy at Tennessee?
Pete Carroll's going up against his former team already, huh?
Yeah. Could be just a big ceremony tonight. Who knows? This could be an all-out war.
This could be
between the Raiders and the Seahawks.
Jeff Fisher fake punt situation here for Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Pour it on late and just pull out some random trick play no one's expecting.
Now that we're talking about it, I'm really upset this game's starting at 9 o'clock tonight. This could be an actual preseason game worth watching.
You wouldn't either way, but yes.
No, I wouldn't.
That's exciting.
But it could be. It could be a game worth watching. Speaking of camp storylines, Joe, I'm scrolling through social media yesterday, and there's joint practices that are already going on. Titans start theirs today against Tampa Bay. But, it's like the Patriots and the Commanders. And it's like, all right, there's some, interesting tweets coming out, interesting plays coming out between the Patriots and Commanders. And then all of a sudden there's a fight. And it's like, there's a fight that's broken out between the Patriots and Commanders. And, looks like Vrabel is right in the middle of it. Vrabel is dove in to the fight and has emerged from the pile with a bloody cheek. He's got blood rolling down his cheek. He's come out of the pile. He's broken up the fight. And now he's got a towel pressed up against his cheek, walking down the sideline at practice between the Patriots and the Commanders. And now, you looked on ESPN.com last night, Joe, looked everywhere, and that was like one of the top headlines of the day in the NFL is Vrabel bloodied up, getting himself into a fight out there at Patriots Commanders practice. And I was like, some things never change, my man. Vrabel's not afraid to dive in there.
Does he think he's like Bruce Willis in a Die Hard movie? Like, does he think these people are about to die or something?
I don't know.
Break up the fight. You have to dive in and act like you're a freaking action hero. Wait, what are we doing here? Again, I got to see the video of this. It must have been. I mean, it better be seriously. People better have machetes out if you're going to dive in and like try to save someone's life. Like, well, come on.
He's going to be 50 years old next week. It's like, it's also like, hey, man, like you can't just be diving in front of NFL players the way you used to, man. You're going to get yourself killed. Like he was on Bussin' with the Boys for like the third time, I guess, this past week. And he was talking about doing this drill with Will Campbell. They're a high draft pick offensive lineman. And I guess he didn't get his feet set right. And Will Campbell just knocked him right on his back. And it's like, hey, man, you're 50 years old. He's like, apparently Will Campbell's got that saved on his phone, which is absolutely hilarious. But, Vrabel going to be 50 next week. You can't just be diving in piles. He's getting bloodied up now.
I mean, it's like some people like do like Marines level training or hang gliding or, whatever, like the thrill seeking, like so Vrabel's got, NFL players can kick the crap out of him right now. So he's got that for free with his job,
Yeah.
When he's done, he's going to do stuff like that. He's going to like live dangerously, skydive, whatever, just to get the adrenaline pumping, man. I don't know. But like, have we heard from Vrabel? Has he said anything since this?
I don't know. I did not catch any of his bloodied up cheek press conference yesterday. So I don't know. I didn't see it. So
they must be doing, I mean, I'm sure there'd be something, right? Although I guess I could also see him being so boring after that nothing ever got shared, but they're probably doing the presses beforehand. So maybe today we'll get Vrabel to explain himself.
Maybe so.
Why did you actually throw yourself into the middle of that?
It was also just so funny.
Grab someone.
Like I saw that, and first off, it's blown up into this huge story around the league. And secondly, it was like I saw a bunch of Patriots fans that were like, this is what I'm talking about. Our culture is back. Our head coach is diving into the fight. He's bringing people into the fight with him. We're going to go to the Super Bowl this year. And it's like, all right, we'll see.
Their culture is back. So Belichick did stuff like this?
I don't recall Bill Belichick diving into a fight.
Dove into a playground and played Ring Around the Posy. I mean, this is not their culture being back.
Oh, man. So
our culture's back, like when we had Aaron Hernandez on the team. All right, guys, stop ripping the Patriots.
Congratulations to Vrabel for getting in there yesterday. Joe, yesterday was perhaps, and this is fully aware of, me being fully aware that there's a game coming up this weekend where this could really take off to a different level. But yesterday was, I think, Joe Milton at training camp full blast for Cowboys fans, because there's a clip that came out where he just rolls back, and I mean, he throws an absolute moonshot down the field for a touchdown. And I couldn't help myself. I watched it. It's an impressive throw. And then you look at the comments, and it's like, Dak better just go ahead and start packing his bags. Like he might as well not even show up to the first game of the year, because it's going to be Joe Milton's job at some point very quickly into the year. And it was hilarious watching some of these Cowboys fans' comments yesterday. But the throw, I will say, like it was an absolute moon ball. It's like, good God. Like if he did that every time, I saw some Tennessee fans comment on too. It's like, great. Is he hitting the slant out there? That's what we really like to see. But man, the hype is out of control down there with Joe Milton.
No, the throw was amazing. I mean, it was. It's like you watch it and you're like, how did someone even run that far in that amount of time to catch that? Yeah. Like first of all, I'm impressed with the receiver to be able to catch up with that. But I mean, like it's insane the throw. So yeah, you knew you'd see some of that, and it's going to be really interesting to see if anyone like who actually like covers the Cowboys buys into this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to rip Joe. Like, Joe can get better. He can get better. I don't want to put a cap on him, but I highly doubt that he's going to be close to Dak Prescott's level as a quarterback this year. Or at any point, probably.
I doubt it too, but man, this is, we talked about this with Charles last week for like predictable Cowboy fan responses, and he is not helping right now. Like, he is not helping Dak Prescott at all right now.
Yeah. So now it's like, I mean, first of all, that has been the word on him for years. If anyone actually paid attention, if you're a Cowboys fan who actually thinks I'd like Joe Milton to be my quarterback, you could read any number of a million stories about like the strengths and weaknesses. But then again, man, last year that one game, I was stunned at some of the stuff I saw from him.
Yeah,
albeit against backups, I was still like, geez, man, this looks pretty good. Like, he comes out and like just cars people up and does things other than just throw 80-yard seeds. Well, the conversation will certainly be interesting down there.
615-737-1025, our phone number. K-Dot in the YouTube chat talking about Vrabel says he threw himself into the fight because he loves ball. Yeah, he does. That Vrabel loves football, man. Vrabel loves ball.
Loves ball. I mean, does he love ball or does he love UFC? What does he love? He loves being battered any way he can find it.
I guess so.
Does he do like the Happy Gilmore, like go into the batting cage? It's like,
just let the ball hit him right in the chest. Hey, man, got to do what you got to do. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Finally, a positive development for the offense yesterday for the Titans. We'll get into that, what it could mean heading into joint practices against Tampa Bay, all that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
practices look like, I guess, starting in Tampa, a lot like these, but just working on separate fields, different units?
Yeah, it'll be just pretty similar to a practice here. Points of emphasis on a one-day practice with Tampa will be a little bit then a 2-day practice with Atlanta. You get it. The 2 days give you some chances to break some things up, but you'll see all the major situations. You'll see some third down. You'll see red zone. You'll see 2-minute. All the stuff that we work here every day. It'll be good to go against somebody else.
That's Brian Callahan yesterday discussing the upcoming joint practice with Tampa Bay later today. Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5 The Game, taking your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. We're going to get specifically into the joint practice with Tampa Bay coming up in the 7 o'clock hour and what we want to see from the Titans on that front. But, Joe, one thing that I think every Titans fan wanted to see was the offense show a pulse out there, and especially in the passing game, show that they've got a little bit of pushback in them. And apparently we saw that yesterday, Joe. I'll read Jim Wyatt's graph from TennesseeTitans.com. It says, quote, Ward was really good in 2-minute period at the end of practice, driving the offense 65 yards on 10 plays, capping it off with a 9-yard touchdown pass to Tyler Lockett. Ward went 8 of 10 on that drive, including throws to Chimere Dike, Calvin Ridley, and Lockett to cap it off. I had Ward going 13 of 15 in team period on the day and 2 of 4 and 7 on 7, making him 15 of 19 on the day. It was one of his more efficient days of camp. This is what Jim Wyatt had to say, who is tracking all this on the performance of Cam Ward yesterday. So, Joe, it feels like a pretty good day for Cam Ward and the offense yesterday. What do you make of the bounce back displayed from the Titans offense after they just got chewed out off the field the other day by their head coach?
Yeah, well, of course, this is what happens. Now, if it didn't happen at any point, then you start to be like, geez. Well, the 85 Bears must be on the other side of things. No, that's not what you'd be like. I'm going to read Kaharski's tweet from yesterday. He said, Cam Ward Wednesday, one-on-ones, mid. Red zone, bad 7-on-7, better in team with a touchdown to Jefferson. 2-minute, good. Hashtag Titans.
What do you make of Kaharski trying to use the word mid?
Yes, now Kaharski is, hello, fellow kids. Yes, using mid. It's funny, too, because like my daughter said something about whatever at school was mid, and it's like, God, I can't get away from this word all of a sudden.
I smoke weed constantly.
So the Kaharski analysis is less glowing. I think the consensus is that it was his best day, and so again, you still have to, like, you're still comparing that against some bad days, but it's definitely good. I think it's a good development for him to have success. Look, the 2-minute, hey man, that's where the bread is buttered. We get it, get it back into that Joe Montana debate. I mean, I'll tell you what, in the 2-minute, Joe Montana was freaking good, man. In those clutch moments, that's when that's when these quarterbacks really make their money, is being able to get those drives to win games. So you like the idea of Cam Ward having a good 2-minute. And just before Tampa Bay, the practice today, a little bit of positivity, probably good. Like today, I would probably expect some tough sledding against those guys, but getting a little bit of confidence before that is good. I'm sure Titans coaches want it. Again, with all this stuff, you can always think in terms of, are you lightening things up a little bit to get that? But blitzing was going on by all accounts. They were bringing pressures and stuff like that. So it's not like they were just like, hey man, we need to give the kid a little punch in the shoulder here. I mean, he made some plays.
Well, we're also reaching the point of camp where, like, in the receiver room, you need to start it's time to go. Like, if and I understand we haven't even got to the first preseason game yet. That's coming up on Saturday. And the preseason games themselves obviously are important for the bottom part of the receiving room. But I still think, like, what you do day to day in practice, what you do in some of these joint practices, like, if you're a receiver fighting for a spot, it's time to go. And apparently Restrepo had a good day yesterday. He had a touchdown catch in the 2-minute and made a nice fingertip grab on a deep ball from Brandon Allen. So, like, that's a guy that needs to start making some plays pretty much on a daily basis in camp if he's going to have a shot here to make the team. And yeah, the preseason games are going to be a part of that, but even in practice, like, it's time for him to start going with the opportunities that he gets out there. You know, you heard about, Lockett making some plays in the 2-minute. That's good to see. But you know that Lockett's going to be on the team. But if you're one of these guys at the bottom, like, Jaquan Jackson or Restrepo or one of those guys, like, it's time to go if you're one of those receivers fighting for a spot here.
Yeah, no question. And look, joint practices elevates that for sure. Also, just you're gonna see some different guys. You have one-on-ones. It's just a little bit. It can get nasty, right? It can get a little bit more than teammates competing with each other, and then of course the games too. As little as these games mean to the fan, totally understandably, guys. Guys get themselves opportunities in those games or elevate their opportunities in those games. Again, like Khalif Raymond is, one of the great examples to me of like diamond in the rough from the previous or 2 front offices ago or 1.5 front offices ago, whatever.
Yep.
Just stuff he did in Giants preseason games, and it wasn't even that much stuff, but the Titans were drawn to that. So this is where guys like that, this is huge for them.
I think you hit on something earlier that's really important. Like, at some point, they're professional athletes, and we've talked about this before. If your team, and specifically your quarterback, like, if they're made of the right stuff, then I'm not overly worried about the confidence part of it. But I do think before you head down to Tampa Bay against, number one, a reasonably talented defense, and number two, a very aggressive defense. Like, we know Todd Bowles and what he does out there and how aggressive that defense is going to be. We'll see how it goes today for the Titans, but there's a chance that it could be, an overwhelming experience for a young quarterback. I do think it's important to get a little confidence going on the offensive side of the ball. And it looks like they were able to do that yesterday. We'll see how that translates to the actual joint practices coming up. And it's one day, so there's limitations to what it means. But at some point along the way here, like, you needed to see the offense respond. And I know they got a couple of days off after Brian Callahan, was yelling at them the other day. But good to see them come out and respond yesterday. And it would be great, and we're going to get to this in the 7 o'clock hour. Like, what I don't want to see today for the joint practices to Tampa Bay is for them to just get totally punked out there. Like, hold your own, make some plays out there in that joint practice. But good to see them have a little bit of confidence before stepping into that.
Yeah, confidence is a real thing. You have to have it. You have to have it. You don't. It's not like it's something that you get later after you achieve things. You have to have it to achieve things, and there's a difference between individual and collective confidence too. And I just think, look, so much of this is timing, seeing the same thing, seeing the same coverages, and knowing the same adjustments, and seeing the protection. Okay, this is the protection that we need to have. All that stuff. So it's confidence in each other too. And when you fail as an offense, that stuff like that often is part of it. It's not just like you got beat or you made a bad pass. A lot of times it's the communication stuff and the timing stuff that is just off. So if this is an indication of growth there, yeah, I think you want to come away from this. And first of all, can you remember? I guess I can't remember a one-day one of these. It's kind of interesting. I know that they're doing another one next week, so it's kind of, but a one-day one of these, and also 9 days on the road for this team, which I can never recall that happening for an NFL team in a preseason. Kind of an interesting dynamic there. Maybe that'll be good.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, that could be. That could be good. Texter's asking about 2 years ago when the Eagles starters played the whole preseason. They did not, but they might have played in every game. They didn't play the whole preseason, man. No. But to answer the question there, yeah, like we've been saying, I think the more the better for this offense. Like, I don't care about Jeff playing in the preseason. You know,
No.
some of the guys like that, a lot of the guys on D. Most of the offense, I'd play them a lot.
I am the exact same way, and I hope we see that coming up on Saturday. Mo is upset that Jelly Roll spoke to the Titans yesterday. Says, can somebody tell me why Jelly Rolls is talking to the team? I would have liked to see a winning retired coach talking to the team. This is from Mo on the text line. Yeah, I did see the Jelly Roll video. Jelly Roll addressed the team. I think he did it last year as well. So if you're like, you're trying to change things up a little bit. If you're a Titans fan, maybe you're not excited about Jelly Roll speaking to the Titans, but he did speak, and it was nice to hear what he had to say. You could find pretty much the whole speech the Titans put out.
Yeah, don't mess with Jelly Roll. Come on, man. Jelly Roll should be allowed to talk to any group of people he wants to. Everybody loves Jelly Roll. I also got somebody saying Dan Campbell versus Vrabel to the death. That would be
quite a matchup.
That would be a hell of a matchup. And Dustin saying I'm not ripping on Vrabel for breaking up a fight. I'm ripping on him for throwing himself into the middle of it. Again, I'm just reading the reports of this, okay? But like, just grab someone in the fight and then pull them out. Don't go and dive in like it's a bowl of cherries.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll have the best and worst things in sports coming up later this hour at 645. I saw something yesterday in college football that hype train is going. It's going to be out of control, and I can't wait for it. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. Tune in later today to 94.9 The Fan. The Nashville Sounds taking on Jacksonville at First Horizon Park with first pitch at 6:35. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at theGameNashville.com. Sounds baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks and Family Leisure. We'll have the best and worst things in sports coming up at 6:45. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Del, I saw something yesterday, and it's just going to be out of control. So, it's, Steve Sarkisian was talking, and he was talking about how, we were in the bubble today going through our walkthrough. And then all of a sudden I turn around and I'm walking out of the bubble, and Arch has got the whole offense over there going through his own walkthrough. Like, he's got his own walkthrough that he's organized over there. And that's just the way that he operates, to which every Texas fan in the replies was just like, oh my God, we've got Peyton Manning. Like, Peyton is this is exactly what you expect from this kid. Peyton Manning, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be awesome. And I was thinking about this. It's a combination of things, Joe. Thank you. Thank you, Bev. A combination of things. Number one, we've talked about the hype around Arch specifically and why there's hype. And, he's a pretty high-level recruit in addition to what his last name is and how much we're all looking forward to watching him play and all that. So we've had kind of the most anticipated quarterback season since when discussion. But here's the other thing that I've been thinking about lately. It's going to get out of control one way or the other immediately because of who they play their first game. Like there's an article up at The Athletic that Stuart Mandel put out there of like, is this the greatest? He did kind of a mailbag. It's like, is this the greatest week one ever in college football? And there's some pretty darn good games going up in week one when you really look at it. But obviously Texas, Ohio State is going to headline it, and Texas is going on the road to Ohio State. So, Joe, like, one of two things is very possible here. Either they go on the road and they beat Ohio State and he looks really good, to which most people are going to act like you can just basically hand him the Heisman Trophy after week one if he does that. Or number two, they don't play well and he doesn't look good and Ohio State dominates and they win. And all of a sudden Texas has a season opening loss to begin the year. He's going to get crushed. It's going to be like all people are going to be talking about is like how overrated he is and how much the hype is not justified. Like, it's going to get out of control immedately with Arch Manning, with Texas and Ohio State.
Yeah, I suppose there's like he plays well, they lose a good game or whatever. I mean, there's a range there, but I'm with you. Like, the overreaction will be. I mean, it's first of all, again, it's already, to me, happening at an incredible level for a guy who's thrown 95 passes, and is a really talented player. Again, as I've said, I think, like, his parents have done a great job, his family's done a great job. Like, he's, like, he actually doesn't do social media and all that, so that's great. It's like, as a parent, you're like, man, how did you figure that out? Wish I did that. So it's like, I mean, I feel like a lot of people who pay attention will be rooting for him, but of course you're going to automatically have a legion of haters, right? But some of them just Texas haters. I mean, I get every Texas A&M fan hates Arch Manning. So yeah, like the discourse will be crazy either way. Does seem like he's someone who, as long as he can keep that up, can kind of isolate himself from that. I mean, he does have like so many famous people in his family who've been through this. Maybe not at the same time period. It is very different at this time period than anybody else. But like, still, like, you would think that'd be an advantage. But all of it is just, again, this idea that anybody knows he's going to be like a number one pick level. You just don't know that at all. You do not know that, and he may well not be, and he may be. So I'm in on every Arch Manning pass this year because I'm fascinated by it too. But also, I'm with you. It's like, God, you're already bracing yourself for the overreactions, which will absolutely be either way, whatever way it goes.
Well, I'm trying to think if I can remember, and I'm not talking about hype, just like, by the time Tim Tebow was established, right? Tim Tebow, his freshman year, came in and Chris Leak was the starting quarterback for Florida. But Tebow got some games, he got some packages out there, and he was a part of them doing what they did that year. And then, by the time Tebow fully started for a year, his third year, he's walking in there. Everybody knew what Tim Tebow was, and that he was a great college football player. So there was obviously a lot of hype for him coming into that year. But I'm talking about like guy that really hasn't done much yet. Like very few meaningful snaps have been played by Arch Manning. I don't recall anything like this. Like I don't recall anything like and I know it's his last name, and that's a big part of it. I don't know if there's really a comparable that in my lifetime I can remember for college football.
Yeah, like there others with last names come to mind. I mean, there was a lot of like Eli at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not the same. I mean, Ole Miss was never great when he was there. Texas is number one. Chris Sims was a guy. A guy who not with a last name, but it comes to mind in terms of just incredible hype and, frankly, just not like Terrell Pryor.
Yeah,
Terrell Pryor to Ohio State was he was the number one recruit, and it was Michigan, Ohio State, all the way down to the very end. Rich Rod just lost out. Like, just what could have been Rich Rod. But that then it's like a year of him kind of, I think it was behind Todd Beckman. So there are, but I'm trying to think in this era, which again, like the social media era. So really you're talking the last like 15 years, right? Basically. Yeah, no one comes to mind. I'm sure someone on the text line will come up with somebody like, oh yeah, that's right. But I do think this is a different deal. But again, you have multiple generations of highly successful quarterbacks.
Yeah.
This is the first, basically the first family of football, right? I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And like, again, there have been some majorly hyped college football quarterbacks. Like, Johnny Manziel goes on the road and beats Alabama, and the way they close out that year, and then he comes back the next year.
That hype,
right? He created
his performance.
it with his performance. Like, before even stepping into the starting quarterback role. Like, I don't think we've seen anything like this. And again, like, they're number one in the coaches poll. My guess is they're probably going to be number one in the AP poll as well. We'll see what happens on that front. And then you're immediately playing against Ohio State to start the year. So, I mean, we're going to find out right off the jump, and people are going to go crazy either way. But like this whole year, I am so fascinated to watch him play. I really am. And, as somebody who, I mean, I don't really have a strong opinion on Texas either way. Like, I'm not one of those people that just absolutely hate Texas. Yeah, it does bother me when they start calling themselves UT when they're not weren't a state when Tennessee was university, but that's a discussion for a different day. But like, Texas doesn't really bother me. Like, I don't hate them or love them or have a strong opinion, but I am all in on watching Arch Manning play this year.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know. Like, again, if you're affiliated, forget about it. You're a Texas fan or you're a Texan, obviously. But if you're just unaffiliated, are you rooting for Arch Manning to do well? I would also ask, and this was a topic I was thinking of maybe at some point, but Texas Tech. Do people want Texas Tech to do well? Because like it's really fascinating, like their whole story and what they've done. They've gone nuts paying players. And it's obviously they're not one of the blue bloods. They are not Texas, but they are outspending Texas. Do people want that to work, or do people want them to fall on their face? I'm really interested in that one too.
I'm totally pulling for fall on their face in that one.
Are you?
Big time. Fall on their face. I hope they win 4 games.
Just because you don't want.
I don't want college football, and I understand some of this is just totally being naive on my part, but I don't want college football turning into, all right, well, let's just see who can spend the most money on their roster every single year, right? And I know there's always been money involved. I get it. And I know Ohio State just won a national championship with their $20 million roster or whatever it was last year. I understand all that. And money's going to be a big part of it. And by the way, just because Texas isn't spending as much as Texas Tech is, Texas is still spending an astronomical amount of money on their roster. So I understand all that. But I want some of these teams that have these really, really high-priced rosters to just absolutely fall on their face. So maybe we can stop some of this crap.
Yeah, I don't think it'll stop it, but
I don't think it will either.
This is a weird year because this is getting in before the settlement. Everybody's loading up too,
Yep.
right? So, what they need is they need a cap because there's
Yes.
collective bargaining. But we'll get to that at some point. Craig is asking about Pat White. Yeah, I don't remember him being a huge recruit, but Pat White with Steve Slayton running
Fun to
that
watch.
read option stuff for Rexrode was like no one could deal with that. So that was more like hype earned on the field.
Slick from Adamsville says, just wait till Marshall starts for the Vols. Get Marshall Manning in there in a few years. He'll be ready to go. Peyton's son. It'll all be good at that point. There are some Tennessee fans that are absolutely already talking about that.
Marshall Manning sounds too much like Marshall Mathers to me.
I agree. And Marshall, I think Marshall Manning's like 13 or 14 years old, which is also, it's like, all right, let's give him a few years to see if he's, actually going to play football.
Let the kid ride his bike to school, will you?
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll have the best and worst things in sports coming up next. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
The best and worst of the sports week. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
On ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is the worst.
You look like you're feeling sorry for yourself. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
He's one of one. He is him.
This is a Coke bottle. It's not a crystal ball.
When I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
Okay, let's go. It is that time of the week. Time for the best and worst things in sports. We'll take your best things, your worst things on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, kick us off with your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Best thing, easily to me, is that the NCAA tournament officially will not expand next year. So doesn't mean we're out of the woods. I think it's going to be, unfortunately, an exhausting and constant conversation. These conference commissioners, Greg Sankey leading the way, are going to continue to try to force feed teams that are sub 500 in their league so they can load up the field with even more of these teams, even if the SEC got 1 million teams, and deservedly so, by the way, last year. It's ridiculous. It's an idea that needs to die. It hasn't died, but the fact that we did not get expansion, I think all the screaming about it has influenced those people, and they've backed away. And so we need to keep the pressure on them so they never do it. So that's the best thing. My worst thing is the Detroit Tigers. I've got a rant on this at some point coming about their GM, who's just like, oh, everything's fine. But they're 7-12 since the break. A 15.5 game lead is now 6. They are in the process of completely pooping their pants, and I am going to be an absolute insufferable jerk if this keeps happening.
It's not good. It's not good. Baseball season's a long season. There's a lot of time to make up ground, as we saw from them last year, and there's also a lot of time to just totally screw it up. We'll see what happens on that front. Ian Safari, your best and worst things in the world of sports.
Okay, I'll stick with baseball. I got a couple here. Best, Shohei Ohtani, 1,000 hits. He is now the 4th player in Major League Baseball history to have 1,000 hits and 600-plus pitching strikeouts. It's
pretty unbelievable.
And it hasn't happened since 1912.
Wow.
So, I don't know. Kid Gleason, he played in 1888.
Joe, you watched him play.
Oh,
yeah, how was that?
1888 to 1908,
He's a little overrated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, maybe this guy spells it different. Dave Fouts. Okay. 1800s, late 1800s. Monty Ward, also late 1800s. Okay. So I don't know, man. This Ohtani, pretty impressive. Also, I'll stick with the worst. Also in baseball, though, what's up with your Rockies, Robby? Giving up another milestone here. 63 hits in a 3-game sweep versus the Blue Jays, the most since 1900. We're talking historical baseball stuff this week.
Wow. Ian's all over it. Ian's all over the baseball out there. Yeah, the Rockies are 30-84, Joe.
20-1 they lost last night.
They got a run differential of negative 316. Minus 316. And by the way, there's not a single other team in all of Major League Baseball that is even close to like minus 200, and they're at minus 316.
You know, I'd feel sorry for them, but I know that some of their fans are the same people who used to cheer for Patty Roy and Claude Lemieux and all those losers. Yeah. So I'm happy about it.
Well, you know, I've been in Denver. I don't know that there are Rockies fans. I just don't know that. I think there's, I mean, it's like actually not a bad looking ballpark. It's like, wow, a cool looking ballpark. And there's some cool places around it. And you're like, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody ever actually talk about the Colorado Rockies in person.
Yeah. So, it's pretty rough, man.
It's, I think there's probably more Colorado Rockies discussion on this program than there is in Denver. So we'll see if they can pull themselves out of it at any point. But I just saw that minus 316. Can you imagine being a fan of that team when they've got a run differential of minus 316?
That is truly amazing. What
a
really number.
It is absolutely incredible out there. My worst thing in sports, just the Micah Parsons situation, not necessarily because, I still think it'll probably, and I emphasize probably, get worked out at some point here. But it is amazing to me how the Cowboys, who are one of the most recognizable brands in all of sports, who have, all this money, they're valued out the wazoo with the money they've got. Like, it's pretty amazing to me that Jerry Jones, is not better at contract negotiations than he is. Like, it's, we've talked about him waiting to the last minute where the price goes up all the time on a lot of these guys. And it just feels like every one of his players gets through a discussion with him about a contract and then ultimately ends up just absolutely hating him on the other side of it. And I understand it's a business and there's some personal things that get in the way of that. And you got to overcome that if you're a player. But man, it would be nice to just have a simple negotiation at some point if you're them, right? I mean, if you're a Cowboys fan, wouldn't it be like, hey, can you just sign one of these guys one time without it being all dramatic? Like, can we just get a deal done? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you have to just assume he feeds off this. You know, he's like the Emperor in Star Wars. Feeding off your hatred.
Yeah, I mean, it must be exactly what it is. My best thing in sports, believe it or not, Joe, I'm actually excited about preseason football this weekend. There's like 3 games I've picked out that I'm lined up to watch. I mean, obviously the Titans are one of them. I'm going to watch the Packers, so that's another one. But I'm all in on Joe Milton out there. I'm all in on Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to watch Shedeur Sanders play this weekend as well. I'm looking around. I mean, you've got the Vikings out there. JJ McCarthy looks like he's going to play a little bit, so I'm excited to watch that. Like, there's some actually as far as preseason football is concerned, and maybe I get tired of it, within 7 minutes once it actually starts this weekend. But there are some pretty intriguing storylines heading into an NFL preseason weekend for once that I'm very excited about.
No, that's the thing. Young quarterbacks or, quarterbacks who have changed locales who are going to actually play. That's the only hope, right? I mean, that's the only hope for interest. Again, unless you're a huge fan of a team and you actually care who like the 6th receiver is or the 4th offensive guard, stuff like that. But the quarterback stuff, I'm with you. I'm gonna check out the same games.
I'm looking forward to it. Got a vote from Austin from Columbia. It says the worst thing is no Mike Keith with the Titans. Best thing is Mike Keith with the Vols. I saw a video yesterday, Joe, of Mike Keith cutting some promos for Tennessee and Syracuse coming up. So we're right around the corner from Mike Keith making his Tennessee debut.
Yep, it's going to be weird, but awesome for Tennessee. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a loss for the Titans, organization. So I think that's a great best worst. Joey from Bellevue talking about things that people are throwing at WNBA games. That's a good worst.
Yeah,
that's a weird one.
It's very weird.
I might have to go best. Just what Slick just if Marshall Mathers goes to Tennessee, he can be the orange M&M. I'm going to give
Marshall
Slick
Manning. I don't think Marshall Mathers is going to
Did I actually just say Mathers?
You did.
Lord. Yeah, you know what I mean. Marshall
Ball
Manning
for life,
goes
M&M.
Marshall Mathers is a Michigan State dad like me.
Yes.
Marshall Manning, the orange M&M. Like, that's freaking amazing.
That's pretty good. I like that. Gover says he went to a Rockies game in Denver when he saw the Dave Matthews Band at Red Rocks back in 2005. It's a solid park. So we do have somebody listening that's been to a Colorado Rockies game.
That's an amazing humble brag, Gover. I'm so jealous of you and hate you that you've seen Dave Matthews at Red Rocks, but I still love you.
Only time I've been to Red Rocks was there's this weird workout class going on where this dude was like basically army crawling down the steps the whole way. And I was like, all right, man, you have fun with that. I'm going to walk over here. See ya. Really good stuff. Very, very picturesque park, though. Red Rocks is very nice.
Yeah, it's on the bucket list, man. The bucket's nearing, and yet it's on that bucket list.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Joint practice coming up today between the Titans and the Buccaneers. What do we want to see from the Titans? And how big of a deal is it if they get totally punked out there? We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports will be with us for his weekly visit at 8 o'clock. We will get into the Titans and all things NFL with him. We got the Rob rant coming up later this hour. And Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will join us tomorrow on the show from Tampa Bay, and we will go over the Titans practice against the Buccaneers with him. So the 7 o'clock hour tomorrow, Kuharsky will be with us. So looking forward to that coming up on tomorrow's program. Joe, it is joint practice day for the Titans in Tampa Bay. They've got the game coming up on Saturday for the first game of the preseason. Just one practice against Tampa, and then they're going to stay on the road and go down to Atlanta to take on the Falcons next week. So lots of time on the road coming up here for the Titans in the preseason. Let's start, just with Tampa and what we're going to see and hear this week. Obviously, in Tampa Bay, I would not describe, as an elite team by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it's not like it's the Philadelphia Eagles that the Titans are taking on out there. So it's not some impenetrable wall that they're playing against this week. However, they are a good team. Baker Mayfield has played extremely well in that offense the last couple of years. And defensively with Todd Bowles, that there's going to be a high level of aggression. You're going to see a lot of blitz looks out there if you're Cam Ward. And I'm very interested to see, number one, how much Tampa Bay shows them, the looks that they get, which I would imagine it's going to be a lot, which is part of the reason you do these joint practices. And number two, how does the Titans offensive line handle it? How do they pick those things up? And how does Cam Ward react to it? So I guess what intrigues you the most about the joint practice with Tampa Bay this week, Joe Rexrode?
Well, I think I have to pivot on this. I mean, in light of what happened yesterday, what intrigues me the most is we talk so much on this program about Brian Callahan endearing himself to his team, to Titans fans. So there's going to be a fight, and I expect Brian Callahan to throw himself head first into the damn thing. And I don't care if you come out looking like a banana in a blender. It's time to suck it up, buddy. Let's be tough. Let's be tough, Brian. And let's prove. Like, Vrabes thinks he can throw himself into the middle of the thing, come out with a scratch. Like, what if Brian Callahan actually did that? Like, he just come out looking like a tomato can boxer who just like fought Tyson in the 1980s or something. So that's one thing I'm looking for. On the serious football side of it, just some offensive success. I mean, someone brought up, I think Craig and JC, I think he brought up Seattle last year. That was, I think we can look back and say, a little bit of a hint of things to come, because it was very much like, Seattle, I mean, my recollection of those days, it wasn't like Seattle just completely mopped the field with them in every single drill. But overall, you came away like, yeah, Seattle's a much better team than them. And Seattle wasn't great last year, right?
Right.
Tampa Bay right now going into this year compared to like Seattle going into last year, it's probably comparable. Like you said, they're good. We will see, if you want to talk about their fortunes this year. I mean, some people think that like Liam Cohen is a big loss, and that they're gonna suffer for that. We'll see, but yeah, they've got good team. Certainly, they got some guys who challenge a defense. So some of this is also just like the one-on-ones when you get up against some of their best players and things like that. But I mean, is anything that's going to happen today going to alter how you view the 2025 Tennessee Titans?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess the one thing I would say on that is, like, if it's so bad, like if it's just clear that they're getting absolutely dominated on both sides of the ball out there, like, that's the other thing. Like, so we're going to be paying so much attention to the offense and how they go up against Tampa Bay's defense. But the defense, don't forget, has largely dominated the Titans' offense in practice at this point. And what if Baker Mayfield just goes out there and just lights them up? Like, what if they just light up the Titans' defense? So, I mean, I guess that would be the one thing where it's like if they just get totally dominated by Tampa Bay at this practice, it's like, okay, like how bad are these guys? Like how bad is this going to be this year? But like Joe, I mean, honestly, aren't we asking some of that already? Right?
Yes.
Like it's a rookie quarterback and a team that I think their over under win total of Vegas is 5.5. So like nobody expects them to be very good. I would love for them to go out there and hold their own. Like just hold your own in an NFL practice. I don't think that's that much to ask from an NFL football team.
No, I don't think it is either. And like something I expect to hear is, I expect to hear about Jeff Simmons having some dominant reps.
Yeah.
It'd be very surprising if he didn't. But who else, who else when you go down the line? I mean, you'd like to hear about, the young receivers making some plays. Some of these DBs. I mean, that's great test for Titans DBs. Obviously, even if L'Jarius Sneed were like active, he probably would do very little anyway. But like the corners who are playing, you got some good dudes, who you're going against. So yeah, to me, like just to move forward with some hope that there's progress being made, that some people might be getting better, that there is growing confidence, all that stuff. You'd like to hear some positive periods, and then in team periods, some level of success for both sides of the ball. Like if there's none, yeah, you're not playing the Eagles here. You're playing the Bucs.
Well, also like, last year with the joint practices against Seattle, what was it, 2 minute? And like Will Levis threw a pick on the first play and then they just cut it off. First off, don't throw a pick on the first play in 2 minutes. That would be great if you're Cam Ward. But if you do, let's throw him back out there and get him some work. I understand that there are real life game consequences. This ain't a game. This is practice. Let's get your young quarterback as much work in this as you could possibly get him, right? And I understand that, he's going to play in the preseason game on Saturday. We were basically told yesterday by Brian Callahan that I don't know if that's a series or 2 series. That's probably the max of what it's going to be on Saturday. So get your quarterback some good work in this. And if he makes some mistakes, which he inevitably will, that's fine. But give him the work against Tampa Bay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Keep it going. Whatever is happening, keep it going. Get every rep in that you can get. I agree with Jared on the YouTube chat about O-line. I mean, that's, it has been, I heard Big Joe and Nick Frazier talking yesterday. I think Nick said something like, is it bad that we just haven't heard that much about, about the offensive line, about Dan Moore and Big Joe. I agree with Big Joe. It's like, no, it's beautiful. That's a great thing, right?
Yeah.
Boring is what you want. So, okay. Well, now, granted, we have heard about the interior getting beat by Jeff Simmons a lot, but that's okay. That's something that adds up. That makes sense, especially with the shape he's in. I'm telling you, he's going to be a problem for anybody. The way he looks right now, the way he's moving right now, he's going to be a problem for anybody who tries to block him this year, if he's going to move like that. But what about these guys, these tackles? Is there success? Is there pass? And that's, again, a huge part of the game Saturday, too, to me, is whenever the ones are on the field, are they creating a pocket for this guy? Because you got to give him pockets.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Titans hitting the field against Tampa Bay for a joint practice. What do you want to hear about with the Titans? What is your biggest concern for their practice against Tampa Bay? We'll get into that. Plus, an area of the football team that we are probably not discussing enough heading into the season. We'll get into that coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Defenses, we've seen them have the upper hand a lot out here in these training camp practices. How eager are you to see them tested by a pretty potent Buccaneers offense with Mayfield and those receivers?
I think it's great. We get a chance to go against two, I think, really talented offensive teams. When you look at their roster and their talent, and Tampa Bay was a playoff team last year. They won 10 games. They've done a really good job. So to go against Baker and that skill group they have there, which is incredibly talented, it's a good offensive line. It's going to be a great test for us, and that's why I look forward to these joint practices. Is you get to measure against somebody else, and you get to see how you respond against different competition in a different color jersey. Really excited about that, but certainly a stiff test for the defense, because that's a good operation there on offense.
That's Brian Callahan looking ahead to the joint practices coming up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're taking your thoughts on that at 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, first off, Ron on the text line says, afraid of injuries, can't afford an injury before the season starts, especially on the offensive line. So, yes, hopefully they avoid that for sure. Skyler says, let's see competent special teams from the Titans. I'm not asking for amazing special teams. I'll take average. Pre-snap penalties on the offensive line. They need to look like a well-coached team. This from Skyler on the text line. I would agree with all that.
Yep, I'd agree with all that. The fear of injuries, that you're going to have injuries. Again, like just going into these preseason games in particular. I mean, the practices, whoever's available is going to participate in the practices. That's good work. It is a little higher level of risk just because, there's a little more natural taking it easy on a teammate, I think, that happens in a team's practice than when you go out. Now you're trying to, you're going off guys against another team. You're kind of like trying to, fight for your team and things like that. So you have a higher risk. But again, with this team, that's why in the preseason games, you're trying to build something. And so to me, you need to get people work, and you just can't think as much about that as I would think about it if I had like a contending team, a veteran contending team. I would approach the preseason differently than I would this team.
So there's an area of the team that we're probably not talking about enough heading into the season that I think is going to be crucial, particularly early this year, and that is the running game. And we know, we feel good about the Titans running game, right? So that's probably why we're not talking about it as much as we probably should be, because we feel good about it. But you've got Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, who I think are still going to be your 1-2 punch. And we'll see how much more, if at all, that Spears is involved in the running game this year. I was looking around at some prop bets last night, Joe, just to see kind of like what Vegas has for some of these running backs and the over-under. And for instance, Derrick Henry's over-under in Baltimore, Saquon Barkley in Philadelphia, his over-under is 1,400.5. So pretty high numbers for both those guys, as you would expect. Tony Pollard's is 875.5, which is not very high. Now, you also look at Tony Pollard's career, and he's basically been, for the last 3 years, right at 1,000 yards. He got over it last year, 1,079, which was his best year from strictly a yardage total standpoint. Year before that in Dallas, it was 1,005, and in 2022 in Dallas, it was 1,007. So he's kind of been right around a 1,000-yard back the last 3 years. To me, Joe, they need that needs to be kind of like the baseline of what he is this year. When you're talking about a rookie quarterback, hopefully an improved offensive line, and again, assuming health in this conversation. If I'm a Titans fan and you're assuming Pollard's going to be healthy, I'd be hammering the over of 875.5, because they're going to absolutely need him to be over that number at the end of the year.
Yeah, that seems almost like an easy play right there. I would expect him to be right around 1,000. Is Tyjae Spears going to take some of that work? I mean, there is some talk about Spears looking better and Spears getting a little bit more. Getting a little bit more of a partnership back there, and that would be, that would obviously be one way that Pollard's number could go down, and they could still have a good running game.
Yeah.
But at this point, I would think he'd be around that. And yeah, it's a very big deal, huge part. I mean, what things help a quarterback most? I mean, I would argue, I mean, a running game is right up there, with anything. And so, and yes, I know everybody. Yes, Ryan Tannehill never did anything good here. We all know that, right? It's all Derrick Henry. But seriously, it's a big deal, and it seems like it's looked promising for the Titans. But this is a week where that part of your team, I think, really gets exposed or can show out a little bit where you just didn't know. Because look, in any of these team practices, for the most part, there's very little actual live tackling football that happens, even in these full pad days. So, I mean, some today, but also certainly Saturday when you give a back a chance to break a tackle, what does that look like? And I think this offensive line, again, we think more is going to be an improvement. How much, I have no idea, but some level of improvement. You think Latham is going to be better. He certainly is slimmer. That's a good thing at right tackle. But I think as a run blocking group, adding Zeitler with Skoronski, with Latham, you got a chance to be, I think, a very powerful run blocking group. And that could be really one of the best aspects of this team this year.
Well, they're going to get tested right out of the gate because Denver was the third best defense in the league against the run last year, just in terms of yards per game. They gave up 96.4 yards per game last year on the ground, which was third best in the league. Now, again, there are some limitations to what that actually means. Like, we know if you want to go strictly by the yardage total, well, then you would say, well, the Titans are an elite team against the pass because the Titans last year only gave up 177 yards per game through the air. Never mind, games where they gave up 1 billion yards on the ground, and we all watched the Titans defense. It was not that great last year. But, I mean, look, there's no doubt Denver is a good defense. Denver can get after the quarterback, and Denver has been stout against the run. So, pretty much in every way you want to be challenged, you're going to get challenged by that Denver Broncos defense in week 1. So, we talked about that so much and what that means for Cam Ward, but the run blocking for the Titans, right? You're going to get a pretty good look and a pretty good test as to where exactly they are with that in week 1 against what last year was a very stout Denver defense against the run.
Yeah. That's a thing. This week is the first test against another team. And actually, I think, really, you look at what Atlanta has done, and I think it's another, I mean, they've really worked hard to try to build up their defense. I think they're going to have a pretty good defense this year. So I think, the Titans offense is going to get some good looks here with these teams, but then it's all, it elevates, especially on the road in that first game. It's going to be one of the tougher games for the offense of the whole season.
Yeah, for sure. And throughout the year, as they go along, Pollard's going to have to be a big part of what they do. Now, what is Pollard's ceiling as a runner? I don't know, right? If he's completely healthy the whole year and the offensive line is pretty good at run blocking, what's he going to be? Because we know, for the majority of his career in Dallas, he did not, I mean, he wasn't the lead back. Now, 2023, when he was coming back and had that, that season where his yardage total, his yards per attempt dipped from 5.2 to 4 from 2022 to 2023. He was dealing with coming back from the injury, but that was really the year that he was the quote unquote lead back in Dallas. Last year he's a lead back here, obviously, and he ends up with 1,079 and 5 touchdowns on 260 carries. So what's that number look like for him with an improved offensive line? How many carries do you want from Tony Pollard this year? Is 260 just right? Is 260 too much? I'd be interested to see how the Titans view that. And the secondary part of that, Joe, is it's one thing to think it's too much, but do you actually have another back on your roster who can legitimately take some of those carries away? You've been wanting Spears to be that guy, and so far he hasn't been. So is he going to be this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm guessing he has a little bit more of a role, but it's hard for me to see this all of a sudden turn into some like real like 2-back situation like a lot of teams have. And Mullings, I do like him a lot, but it's hard for me right now to see him having a regular role. Like again, short yardage, like he could be, maybe a factor, but I think it's still going to be primarily Pollard. Like you said, 260 last year, the year before 252. He had never been over 200. So then you get into, okay, so he's 28 years old.
Right.
Now tread's coming off the tires. Typically with running backs, right? You like people look at that 3 in front of as the first number of the age, and it's like, oh, run away, And I mean, realistically, he may have like a couple years left of being that level of production if he is like a lot of backs, and then you kind of have to start thinking of what's next. I don't think Spears, from what we've seen of him, is going to be a lot more than a third down back in his career.
Take your thoughts on the Titans running game. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll have more on that coming up next. 1025 The Game and Souls for Souls have teamed up for a back-to-school fundraiser. Souls for the 615 to provide new shoes for kids experiencing homelessness in Nashville. You can help a child in Middle Tennessee step into the new school year with confidence by donating $20 for a new pair of athletic shoes. For more information and to donate, visit thegamenashville.com/shoes. Souls for the 615, sponsored by Macero and 12 South. Go check them out for handcrafted cocktails, bold plates, great happy hour, and elevated hospitality. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. This isn't just a concert, it's a cause. Trinetics' Rock the Cradle helps give fragile newborns a stronger start and keeps mom close when it matters the most. With Tim McGraw live on stage and your support behind every beat, Ascension St. Thomas is turning music into healing. Tickets are on sale now at rockthecradlenashville.org. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up at 7:45. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports coming up at 8 o'clock. By the way, Kuharski down there in Tampa Bay, we'll have him on the show tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Joe, he says it's going to be hot. The feels like temperature going to be over 100 degrees as Titans practice against the Buccaneers gets going. So my guess is, Joe, you could see some tempers flare a little bit. That tends to happen when it's that hot out there. We'll see.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although it's interesting when people talk about stuff like that because it's like, why did the Vikings ever go to war then? You know,
it's a good question.
Nice and cold, and yet they still.
I mean, that would be when my temper flares. Like if I'm out there in the cold, I'd be very upset.
So it's anything extreme.
Yeah.
So it's anything that's not like comfortably like in the like 75 to 82 range.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're that temperature, you are a non-violent person.
Yeah, a little bit calmer. I mean, I would even stretch it to, like, for me, anything from like 72 to 91. I'm pretty cool with.
Like, was Gandhi always at a perfect temp? You know what I mean? Like,
don't know.
Mother
Maybe
Teresa,
so.
have like a little fan, keep yourself at a certain. I don't know. What's Vrabel's body temp? Like, what does it mean if you like?
It must have been too hot yesterday.
Into the middle of a pile of people beating the crap out of each other. Like, what does that mean?
Well, he
thinks he's Indiana Jones
when he got hit by whatever he got hit by that caused him to bleed from his cheek. Did that set him off? Like, did he think about trying to fight at that point? I don't know. He's listening to the show right now, so if he wants to text in, just ask us. I'd love to know his thoughts.
I know I'm sick of him hate listening and not just coming on the show. It's like
last time we heard it was maybe, right?
Yeah.
We need to check back.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm sure we'll get that done real soon. He absolutely is listening. Yeah, there you go.
Abel on the YouTube chat says, I would hammer the over for Pollard on that line. The last year, the line was god awful. He still got 1,000 yards. I mean, 875.5 again. Let me put it to you this way. If Tony Pollard is completely healthy, Joe, and he doesn't have more than 875 yards, I will be, number one, very surprised by that. And number two, unless there is just some unbelievable emergence from Tajay Spears that I can't predict sitting here on August the 7th, unless that happens, that's probably not a good thing for the Titans. Like if Tony Pollard is under 875 and he's healthy, that's not good for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, that's hard to imagine unless, like you said, because Spears got 650. Okay.
Right.
Spears got 500. Okay. Well, then that, and then not completely ruling that out. That would probably be the way people would get screwed, but I tend to agree with Abel. That seems like an easy one. Where that is set right there.
The right side of the line
that might be a little tempting.
Feels like it could be pretty good run blocking.
I agree.
When you go Zeitler and Latham on the right side, I mean, feels like some people movers over there.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Like I think, and look, we've talked about this. Skoronski got better as the year went on last year, and we have seen Skoronski, Joe, have some reps where he's a mauler out there in the running game. Now we'll see what that looks like this year. And to me, he's as big of a question as anybody on that offensive line of like, what exactly are you going to see from him? But I'm with Ian. Like I look at Latham and Zeitler on that right side, and I think there's an opportunity there. If Latham is what we think he can be at right tackle, for them to have some pretty good success running the ball that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously it's all, the whole thing matters. Someone asked earlier if Brunskill's playing center. It's definitely not Daniel Brunskill. Corey Levin is the guy, and I think he'll be the guy. I'm expecting him to be the guy at least for the first couple of weeks. So obviously that is a weak link I mean, that's your line is different with him than a full go, healthy and playing at his best Cushenberry. So that's part of why I think the offensive line probably is going to be better a month into the season, 2 months into the season. Again, provided it doesn't have huge injuries elsewhere than it is at the beginning of the season. And then how much does that affect the run game going from Levin to Cushenberry?
Yeah, like I look at the run game, and I like the rest of the offense. You're looking around, and you're like, okay, how many actual weapons does Cam Ward have to help himself? And maybe Gunnar Helm turns into one of those, but I don't feel great about tight end right now. Like Chig with a ball in his hands, we've seen before, can do some things, but I mean, last year's pretty underwhelming for Chig. So what does that look like this year? At receiver, I feel good about Ridley. Beyond that, I'm very skeptical, and I'm hopeful with some of the rookie wide receivers, but I'm pretty skeptical of their wide receiver room. So like Pollard and Spears, but specifically Pollard, is going to have to be if you're going to see progress from the Titans offense this year, and I know everybody's going to point to the quarterback, and yes, that's the most important part. But to me, like Pollard still has to be a huge part of it, because in terms of proven playmakers and the stage of the careers that they're at. So like Lockett is a proven playmaker, but he's going to be 33 years old. And like Pollard's 28, and he's at a spot right now where they need him to be one of their best players on offense this year. And if he's not, then I continue to look around the rest of the room or the rest of the offense, and I'm like, I'm just not quite sure you've got enough if Pollard doesn't have a really good year.
No, I totally agree with that. Quick trivia for you. Where's Daniel Brunskill?
Daniel Brunskill.
Don't look up.
I'm not looking it up. I'm thinking in my head. Houston.
That's a good guess. Miami Dolphins. I did not know.
Apparently that's where everybody goes. You got Ackerman down there, Stonehouse, NWI,
Nashville
Brunskill.
South, baby.
Yeah.
Nashville South.
Aaron Brewer went down there.
Yeah. It probably doesn't speak well for the Dolphins, getting all these Titans over the last couple of years.
Tough as a $2 steak. I'm going to read this text real quick. Texter says, 40 years ago when I played high school football, every practice was all full pads, full tilt all the time. Please explain the NFL and how they do practices within team practices against other teams' preseason games. What's the difference? Are practices against other teams full pads, full tilt? First of all, real quick, aside for you, 38 years ago was my last year of football, 9th grade JV, and I got absolutely obliterated. I got concussed multiple times. I was like, I'm going to stick with basketball and baseball. Totally. It was like, this is a time period when you, like, as you know, Texter, like you're getting water withheld from you if you mess up a drill, right? Like that's how it was back in the day. Things are massively different, and they should be, right? I mean, they should be different, but obviously the NFL is also the NFLPA, which has not had many wins, but one of their wins is that they've been able to, chop down on padded practices, full practices, number of practices, all these things, which is a player safety thing. But then it also, then you have the issues with performance. And I think we do see the ill effects sometimes early in these seasons. But yes, these, like today, should be full pads. Usually the joint practices they want to get in teamwork. They look at it coaches look at it kind of like games, right? In some ways, some game situations and some actual tackling, not quarterbacks. They still are wearing the jerseys and stuff like that, but these are full tilt. And of course, the preseason games are. I saw here's an interesting thing I saw, Robbie. I think it was Easton Freed said this, which I don't hate this idea at all. What if they did preseason games but they just did the quarterback in the red jersey? But other than that, it's just a regular game. Would that be so bad? Because you'd see quarterbacks playing you get Joe Milton for a whole half or a whole game, or Cam Ward for a whole game Saturday night, I bet.
Yeah, but they're not playing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I understand the thought. I really do, because I don't want to see the 7th string quarterback from North Wright State out there at some point in the fourth quarter. So I get all that. But to me, if you're going to play football, play football. Let's play some football out there.
I mean, I think the thing is, I do like the idea in terms of you're going to have them out there, and like Mahomes will play a whole. So the games in a way would be more interesting, but at the same time, like that is like you can't fake. I can get tackled.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
exactly.
in a brain. So when that's what it's going to be like in real football, and that's so it's like if you always know you're not going to feel the pain of a tackle, there's just something different for your brain, right? In your subconscious,
Totally.
you're just going to go about things differently.
There's no doubt about it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll have the Rob Rant coming up next. Charles Robinson at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
First of all, congratulations on a great attempt at a chat and cut. Really good.
You can run it every snap or you can throw it every snap.
Of course he is. It's like Joe Milton.
99 times out of 100, that's going to work. Unfortunately, I happen to be on the line. So
this probably needs to be a Creed day.
The oohs and the ahs from some of you guys, the cooing, go, go, gaga.
Fat fingers.
What does that mean?
In what ways has he been a great addition?
Who's got the next question, Robbie?
Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. I just saw my friend.
Yeah, I know a chatting cup when I see it.
Okay.
Do you know her at all?
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rob rant here on the program. You can check it out every morning here on the show. I will continue to say, Joe, I get texts from people multiple times a week about how good Ian Safar is at these mashups for the rant. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's like Herbie Hancock on the keyboard, man.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Charles Robinson coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll get to him just in a second. So let me just start with this. It should be legal to open hand slap people who purposely cut in line. That's where I'm going to start on this. Like that, we should make a law where if you purposefully cut somebody in line because you think that your time, I guess, is more valuable than somebody else's, you should be allowed to be punched. And I've run into this situation a few times over the last couple of weeks. And then progressively, you'll be shocked to know, Joe, becoming less and less patient and less inclined to not just totally lose my stuff on people. So, a couple of weeks ago, we're in Disney, right? And I've gone with you about like the lines for rides stuff. But this was like checking into our resort, like hotel. So we got there and, unfortunately, a lot of people got there at the same time. So there's a little bit of a line, not a huge one, but a little bit of a line at the front desk to check in and get situated and all that stuff. But like a very visible line. And it was going pretty quick. So it wasn't that big of a deal. But like two separate parties just like walked in front of us when this happened. And it wasn't just us, but walked in front of us because they had a question for the front desk person. It's like, I gotta, like, when can we get in our room? Like, there's somewhere I gotta be. When can we get in our room? And I'm like, do you not see the line here? Like, do you think that we're all standing here for our health? Your time, I guess, is way more important than our time. So just by all means, run up in front of everybody and start asking all your questions. But the one that really got me was at the gas station the other day. I ran in the gas station. It's hot outside. Went in there, grabbed a quick water, quick Diet Coke, and was like, you know what? I'm going to get in here, get something to drink real quick before I head back outside. And, of course, like there's one person working the cash register, and for whatever reason, it was just an all-out blitz into this gas station at one time. So the line ends up being like 6 people deep. So I'm waiting. Somebody's up at the front there fidgeting around with their hands, trying to find the exact, cigarettes that they're looking for. It's taking forever. So that person goes by. The next person gets up there, and they've got groceries. So they just want to get, 30 groceries at the gas station. So that's what they do. So all of a sudden, I've been in line for like 5 minutes, and I'm still like 4 or 5 people away from being at the front. So the person before me, somebody walks in the entrance and just walks right in front of them and starts talking to the cash register guy and asking questions. And that just drove me nuts. And I said, hey, what are you doing? Do you not see this line here? Do you not see all of us standing here? Do you think that your time is more valuable where you can just walk up? And, of course, the person, oh, sorry. No, you're not sorry. You're sorry that you got called out on it. Quit cutting people in line just because you think your time is more valuable. It drives me nuts. I think it's the root cause of a lot of problems we got here in this country, Joe, of people thinking that their situation and their time is more important than everybody else. And quite frankly, I've had enough of it. And I'm going to snap at some point.
So if a politician ran on a platform of not punch, open hand slap, you get one legal open-handed slap at a line cutter, that you would vote for that. You would vote for that politician.
There's no doubt. Yeah. I'd be all in. Yeah. It boggles my mind. Like just the absolute screw you to everybody else that some people walk around with. It's amazing to me how they've made it through life this far.
So I do have to admit, okay, on the hotel one, I have seen a huge line and it's all people checking in, right? So it's checking in and it's going to be, okay, yeah, let me see your card and here, blah, 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 your reservation, and I have had to say something like, I think maybe like dropped off a key or like checking out of room 235, stuff like that. I have quickly, communicated with the desk person. Well, I guess technically cutting in front of that line. Would you open hand
So
slap
you'd
me
be
for that?
slapped, is what we're saying here.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's like, dude, it's just something real fast, and I mean, all these people are checking in, like that's just such a long time,
I will say
let
the
you
people
do
that
it.
I had a problem with was they were actually trying to check in, so it was a much different situation. I would probably have a slightly more forgiveness if you were just like dropping a key card off, but I'd still probably think about it for a second. I would.
That might maybe like trying to think what would be like a step down from an open-handed slap. Maybe like a flick the ear.
Yeah.
Maybe a little one of
Maybe
those.
so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Wet willy, maybe a little quick wet willy.
Maybe so. Eric in
Pain, but
Buffalo
some phlegm.
Eric in Buffalo says Robbie's one step closer to the edge. He's about to break. Maybe, man. I don't know. I guess I've learned that maybe I don't need to be around people all that much. Maybe that's just a big problem for me. But the dude in the gas station just about sent me over the edge, man. Like just walking, like been sitting in there for 10 minutes, which again, I'm not mad. Like I'm not mad at the one worker they've got in the gas station. Like I felt bad for him, but like they just walk in the entrance to the gas station and just jump in front of everybody else. And it just about made me come unglued.
So was he trying to actually, by talking, like distract people and actually cut in front of you all?
I guess. I don't know. Like he just walked right up to the front of the counter and just started talking to the guy. And it's like, hey,
that's a great call out on your part. That's a great call out.
I guess, I mean, that's the other thing. I guess people just allow that to happen because I guess they just don't want conflict. But it got to the point with that guy where I was almost like, yeah, please come over here and try to hit me. I will absolutely unload on you right now. But it didn't escalate to that part.
Skyler says Rexrode is part of the problem, thinking he's better than everybody. I'm not at all. However, Josh from Columbia says, what if I jump in after somebody just paid? The next person's walking up. I ask for a receipt for my gas because the receipt didn't print at the pump. It takes 2 seconds. Robbie is double. Boom, boom, slap, slap.
I mean, again, Josh, I would think about it for a second. I'd be like, hey, what's this guy doing up here? I don't know.
And to everybody, I would definitely I would not cross Robbie. I just wouldn't, man. See, now you're making me sound like a total psycho. Well, no, but I mean, you're kind of a big guy, and you've got you've got a healthy ability to get pissed off. You're not low T like the Titans.
That's probably the best way that's ever been described. Michael and Madison wondering if I would say that I'm 6 feet from the edge. Thank you. Let's get a little Creed in there. There's always comes back to Creed some way, somehow.
6 feet from the edge is a Creed song?
Yeah, I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking maybe 6 feet and so far down. Come on, Joe.
Oh, this is a deep cut.
No, it's one of their most popular songs.
It's called 6 Feet from the Edge?
It's not called that. It's just the lyrics that are in there.
What song is it?
What song is that? What's the name of it? I'm trying to think.
Is it
wide open? It is not that one. No, I'm thinking of the entire song in my head right now. For some reason, can't think of the name of the song. I'm sure the text line will light up here in a second, but it is one of their most popular songs.
Yeah, and it sucks. And so now people are trying to get me pissed off.
Wes in Clarksville with another good one. The people that wait in the line to order food and then they get up to the front and don't know what they want. I think I've ranted about that one before. That one also bothers me. It's like you've been sitting in this line for a significant amount of time, and then you get up to the place where you're ordering and you have no clue what you want. Good stuff.
That's a tough one. I mean, I've even felt like if you get up there and even if you're that person and you get up there and you stumble a little bit, you're like, I even feel like, oh my God, like you need to be like right there. So apparently that's from the song Higher.
Duh. Yeah. I can't believe I couldn't think of that. Yeah. Higher, which you've heard a billion times.
Need to be way, way higher to be able to handle that crap.
Well, and I think also
higher than Kaharski gets.
I think, Scott Stapp blessed us one time on the Preds band stage out there. So maybe he'll do that again this year.
I was there.
I know.
Fortunately.
I know. Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports is coming up next. We'll get into the all things NFL with him. Robbie and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
What did the Five Fingers Say to the face. What? Slap!
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Thursday morning. Joe, very quickly, the song by Creed's One Last Breath. We were lied to on the text line. It's not higher. It's One Last Breath. Check it out.
Yeah. Be nice if they would take One Last Breath as a band and never play music again.
Didn't know where that was going. Let's head to our 102.5.
I don't want anybody to die, okay?
Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our buddy Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports. Charles, good morning. How are you?
What's going on, gentlemen? It sounds like Joe and I are both sick. Is that right?
I'm sick of Creed. I just had to clear my throat. But sorry for your troubles.
Yeah, somebody if you're on the road for 4 or 5 weeks, eventually somebody gets you sick. So that's where I'm in Carolina today, sick.
Well, sorry to hear that. Appreciate you powering through and being with us this morning here on the program. So, Charles, let's start on the Micah Parsons front. Obviously, this has now become very public, and Micah Parsons has requested a trade, and Jerry Jones hops in front of the media, every 6 seconds down there in Dallas and starts talking about the situation publicly. So what do you make of where things currently stand with Micah Parsons? Do you think he actually ends up getting traded at the end of the day, or is this resolved at some point in Dallas?
Yeah, what's interesting is I go back to being there during that first press conference, and I talked myself out of it, but I remember the first press conference. I was sitting there and I was listening to him, and he brought up Emmitt Smith a couple of times, this negotiation decades ago with Emmitt Smith. And I remember thinking when he brought it up, in my mind, I was like, Emmitt Smith missed a couple of games that year. And it wasn't until Charles Haley put a helmet through the wall after a loss that, there's this famous story about, Haley going bonkers in the locker room after they lost the second game of the season and started 0-2. And then, Jerry got a deal done with Emmitt. And I remember when Jerry brought it up a couple of times, the whole Emmitt Smith negotiation. I thought in my mind as I was standing there, I'm like, is he already resolved to Micah sitting out some games? In his mind, is he already kind of prepping for this, to get to this point where Micah isn't playing the first couple weeks of the season? And I thought, I'm like, I'm overreacting. Micah's here in camp. They'll get something worked out. I'm clearly just, letting my imagination run. Well, now he's brought it up several times. Now he says he's not confident that Mike is going to be there at the start of the season. I'm convinced that going all the way back to his opening press conference, he felt, whatever way he felt emotionally, burned by this idea that Micah took a deal off the table. I think he felt then that he was like, I'm not budging on this. And if he's not budging and, he wants to make David Mulligett a part of this process, we're not having it. And so I'm going to go ahead and just prepare for him not necessarily being here the first couple of games of the season at minimum. And he even kind of said during that opening press conference, he brought up the idea of Micah missing games. So he missed games last season. And I think he's more dug in than I realized. And do I think a trade happens? No, but I've started to pick around the edges of that, just basically asking some GMs and some other personnel people, what is Micah's trade value? And I think right now, and I still have some more string to gather on it, but, you go back to the Khalil Mack deal a few years back when the Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears. That was a couple first-round picks and then other picks. And at least the early feel I get is if this really got to that point, Micah would be the baseline beginning is, hey, at least 2 first-round picks on the table, and maybe we go beyond that. He could be the rare guy that, is he a 3 first-round pick type of player at this stage in his career? Yeah, maybe to the right team. So, but I don't think this is, it's getting worse rather than better. And I feel like every time Jerry Jones talks about it, it feels worse. And, I think you can ask yourself too, just the quotes are out there. You can see, and the tape's out there of Jerry talking about this. At times, I don't think it even makes sense to me when I listen to him. And I wonder if the backwash of this, whatever happens, if the backwash of this isn't are we to the point now where maybe Jerry needs to take a step back? Like, because this to me feels like it's been worse on Jerry than in past years. Like how this has all gone down, how Cowboys fans have reflected on him talking about it. It feels like a far more negative experience than in years past, just because at times you can't even understand what he's talking about. And his sort of dismissive nature about this shows a dug-in quality that I think could end up, hurting him in the long run with Cowboys fans. Like this feels different than in past Cowboys fans being upset with him.
Yeah, and when I hear Steven talk about it, I'm not all that impressed with that either. So Charles, you went on this tour. By the way, I know you're sick, but like you still got to get some time with Xavier Legette on this trip to Carolina. But Denver, the Titans' first opponent, Sean Payton. I mean, there's some lofty talk about Knicks, about the Broncos. Wickersham had a little book excerpt yesterday, kind of fascinating look at Payton and his little QB formula, which we talked about. Right. But is this real? Is this legit? Like, is Bo Nix actually going to be a great quarterback in the NFL?
I mean, he's definitely convinced. And I think it's interesting because this time when I went through, it's been sort of this graduating. He went from being grumpy as hell the first time, like three off seasons ago, I go through Denver, and it was in the wake of, Jarrett Bell quoting him on all the Nathaniel Hackett stuff. So I think there was, inside the organization, there were a lot of ruffled feathers at that time anyway. But, it wasn't a great experience. And I was kind of like, man, he's starting off his tenure here. Like, this is rough. Like, he came in, like, limiting a lot of things for the media. Like, he was, running players ragged, it felt like, in practice. Like, it's just a lot of, was he working well with general manager George Payton? And then last off season, it felt a little different. Not a little different. It was significantly different. I remember, I sat down for about 30 minutes last off season, and it was like he was happy. You could tell he had the quarterback he wanted, and he was not shy about talking about how he felt like Nix was going to be a great quarterback then. And it just felt like a lot of the weight was off of his shoulders because he felt like he clearly had one major issue resolved. Like, he knew that first off season, going into his first year, Russell Wilson, it wasn't going to really work. I think he didn't want to tell anybody that, but he felt like the Russell Wilson salary dump was coming. And then I think he felt like, okay, I've resolved the two major problems. I've moved on from Russell Wilson. I've drafted this quarterback I really love, and we're moving in the right direction. And then this most recent visit, I mean, like, we went to the cafeteria, and it was like an hour and a half that we ended up sitting there. And it was one of the best moods I've ever seen him in. Like, he was just amped on the team. Like, he told me he felt like, hey, I've had, 6 Super Bowl quality teams in my career. This is the 7th. He told the team about the first meeting he told them. He felt like this wasn't about the AFC West. It was about winning the Super Bowl. And for a guy who tells you constantly, like, don't eat the cheese and, basically saying don't listen to the hype, I mean, he was the one who was distributing it. And I'm like, wow, this is really different. And then he said, he tells me, he says, well, I think, Bo Nix is going to be a top 5 quarterback inside the next 2 years. And
there's a hot take.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. At the time when he said it, I remember thinking like, oh, okay. But also being like, well, he's being super optimistic right now. Like, he's just putting some wind in the sails of his team. But I think he believes it. Like, I think he believes that he's got a defense that can win games. I think he believes, like, there are a ton of, like, young pieces on that team that are really improving. I think bringing in Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw from the 49ers, I think he feels like he added 2, like, sort of Super Bowl caliber players. Bobby Ingram, adding Ingram at the tight end spot. I think, not Bobby Ingram.
That's a Penn State blast in the past right there, baby.
Yeah. Oof, man, coming out of the ether for that one. But I think you look at, in terms of the Knicks thing and what was written in American Kings by Seth Wickersham, he talked about a lot of that stuff after drafting Knicks, the whole idea of these negative plays. Like he didn't come out and say it. He didn't tell me he had like a straight up formula, but he did say to me and others that this is what he was studying, this idea of negative plays produced in college. And then, kind of coming up with a thesis about it. I didn't know he actually had like a percentage formula that he had come up with. I didn't know that until I read Seth's book, which is a really interesting nugget. But, he was pretty clear last offseason when I talked to him. Their top two quarterbacks on the board were Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Like he said that before the two had the seasons they had. So maybe he's right. Everybody's had for all these years, there have been different ideologies about quarterbacks. I mean, Bill Parcells had, and I almost think that this comes out of Bill Parcells, by the way, because Parcells had a quarterback. He had his own formula for quarterbacks. It was like, hey, you want your quarterback to have X number of years as a starter, X number of years in college football, X number of snaps. Parcells had this whole kind of workup. And frankly, over time, you can poke a lot of holes in it. Like a lot of guys would have qualified as potentially good draft picks who were not. And, but the one that excuse me, the one that Peyton has cooked up is surely interesting. And I will tell you, he was definitely, of everyone out there, he was the lowest on Caleb Williams when it came to just the idea of limiting negative plays. He hated that about Caleb Williams. He felt like Caleb Williams constantly nurtured negative plays his last year at USC. And even though I think he had a lot of belief in the overall talent of Caleb Williams, he straight up said to me, I mean, I guess I can say it now because it was definitely an odd background at the time. He thought last offseason, he was like, I think Caleb Williams is going to have a really rough time in the NFL because he's going to produce a lot of negative plays. And it's going to be really hard for a coaching staff to constantly have to work him out of that. He said he thinks it's possible, but he said it's going to be a tough hill to climb. And I think that's proven out over time.
So, Charles, it looked like George Kittle, among others, were in some serious trouble the other day when the NFL banned smelling salts. Now, some more clarification has come out since then, and the NFLPA has put out a memo that you can still have your smelling salts. It just can't be distributed by the league and their employees there. So where do we currently stand on smelling salts gate, and is George Kittle now safely not going to retire from the National Football League?
Well, not just George Kittle, by the way. There's a bunch of coaches too who utilize smelling salts during the course. Probably some reporters as well.
Vrabel needs it before his brawls.
Yeah, how about that? How about him getting beaten up in the middle of breaking up a scuffle? It's interesting to me because I talked to a couple like executives that are on like the team president side and are more dialed into the meetings where it's like some of it's health and safety, some of it's sort of optics. And I think there's those both playing into this. I think number one, the idea that it masked concussions was something that was brought up and discussed quite a bit on the league executive level. Like, hey, we're distributing this stuff right now. And if players are using it to mask concussions, how culpable are we then in like, do we want to be seen as, utilizing this thing that can potentially mask what is one of the biggest black eyes on our game, and continues to be. So I think there was some of that. And then also, I know it was brought up at one point because it's caught on TV. It's been caught on TV a few times, and some people have kind of created highlight reels of it. I don't think the league was super comfortable with the footage of players doing smelling salts during games, where you had them, jamming stuff in their nose, and you kind of see it, and we all laughed and we watched the clips or whatever. I don't think they like that. I don't think they like the optics of what it looked like, during the course of the game. We've talked. I think we've kind of talked in the past where, I remember some super old time guys telling me, talking about doing handfuls of like amphetamines before they would go out in the 70s and 80s and play football games. I think that's another part of the past that the NFL wants to get away from. The idea of substances that either mask or improve, performance. But I do think the optics of players doing smelling salts on I will be surprised if there is not a unwritten mandate, for the TV partners, like, hey, let's make sure we're not showing, like, if you see that's happening, the producers are I think the league office is going to be leaning a little bit on producers getting away from, hey, that guy looks like he's holding a smelling salt and he's doing it. We don't want that, broadcast. So interesting little, kerfuffle, but it does not surprise me that George Kittle, of all people, is hijacking an NFL Network interview to complain about the memo when it came out.
So they don't want people looking like they're on a boat with Stephon Diggs, is what you're.
Yeah.
To,
I mean, I do.
Okay.
Joe, I think it's part of that. I do. I think they're sort of like, it looks like players are doing drugs, right? And it's just like, you don't want to broadcast cortisone shots. You don't want to broadcast like all that stuff that we know happens. You don't want that broadcast. I mean, a lot of the stuff that happens maintenance-wise at halftime in terms of players' bodies, they don't want that out there. And this is certainly something that had made its way into, broadcasts. And I think it made some people, especially in 345 Park Avenue, I think it made them uncomfortable.
So I want to follow up what we're talking about with Sean Payton. I brought this up yesterday, but I'm going back and reading this story I wrote in 2020 on S2 cognition, because another interesting thing about this with Sean Payton is, that draft where he wanted Mahomes and he had this formula, he didn't get Mahomes, as we know. The Chiefs moved in front of him. But that draft, the Saints drafted Marshawn Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams, Alvin Kamara, okay, in one draft. And that was a draft with S2 as their client helping them draft. And that was a big part of S2 getting, the platform it got and getting all through the league. So Sean Payton is a believer in that too. He actually has the processing tests of quarterbacks. I guess my question for you is, how does that play into this? And also, like, it's kind of gone underground now. Have you heard anything just in terms of obviously with all the Stroud stuff, like the league discussion around that aspect of judging quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, the massive response to it afterward, and I talked to a lot of people in the training camp that followed that. And then again, after Stroud had the big rookie season, I think that off season, I remember talking to people about it. And it, there was, I don't want to say there was a shift, because the sort of be all end all aspect of it, especially focused through what Stroud's score might have been, what Hendon Hooker's score might have been leading into that draft, was so played up by the media that I don't even know at that time if teams felt like it was the be all end all. I constantly heard, like, it's a piece.
Yeah.
It's just a piece of the process. There are, depending
That's
on
correct.
who you are and how you study it, it's one of many things we put on the table to sort of consider things. I think for Peyton, when it comes to the S2, it's okay. I see something here about this player that leads me to believe he's processing things a tick slower than what's happening in front of him on the field. What's his S2 score? Let's start to look at other things that we think are indicators of whether I'm right or not about, when it comes to Caleb, it's sacks that how he thinks sacks are by far, Peyton thinks sacks are one of the biggest indicators of future success by quarterbacks, but he does study the quality of the sacks too. It's like, how are they being taken? And, but overall, I think he does value, if you have 100 sacks, even if for the most part, or at least somewhat, he can blame them on other things, he still stares at that 100 sacks and says, you take a ton of sacks. Like, you're terrible when it comes to, getting rid of the ball or, making the play you need to make. And so I think, like, S2, is he a believer in it? Sure. I think are other people in the league still a believer in it? Yeah, I do think they are. But I do think is that marker out there if they're seeing other troubling things when it comes to, the processing. And I still think most tests, any test players take, I don't think anyone looks at it as an overriding piece of information the way we used to pass off the Wonderlic like 20 years ago, right?
Which never should have been viewed that way either.
Right, exactly. I mean, I will always say Frank Gore. I'm like, Frank Gore got killed on the Wonderlic and ended up being basically a Terminator at running back for his entire, the entirety of his career once he got over injuries. And so I mean, I guess I think that there is a more kind of holistic approach by most everybody in the NFL now, by and large, that no one's taking any one thing and saying that that's the be all end all, but I think they consider everything, right? The VR performances now, when guys use the VR headsets, I think that's another thing when it comes to processing. I think they can time it out a little bit more, seeing how guys react to things on VR. S2, there's, I'm sure there's probably things that we don't even know about right now that are starting to work themselves into the matrix.
Charles, last thing for you here. ESPN and NFL, the NFL network, the NFL media properties have come to an agreement, and ESPN is going to have the rights to, the NFL network and Red Zone and all those things. Dan Patrick said this. I want to read this quote for you. Quote, "The journalist in me would point out the conflict of interest, but ESPN can't be any further in bed with the NFL when it comes to their coverage. Are they going to look the other way whenever whatever negative story comes up? They probably have already done that." That's what Dan Patrick had to say about the ESPN and NFL deal. So what do you make of that deal, and are you worried that ESPN is basically just going to become a mouthpiece for the NFL?
I mean, let's be honest. They went from partners to owners, right? I mean, you have an ownership stake in ESPN, but you were already partners anyway. That's how the league looked at ESPN was, hey, here's this bag of money that they pay us to broadcast our games. We're partners. Like, we're in this together. And every time a rights deal gets done and ESPN ponies up billions of dollars for NFL rights, the question was always, well, how does this impact reporting on the inside of ESPN? And I can say, I truly believe that for the most part, it doesn't. I watched Seth Wickersham, Don Vanatta. I mean, they've rolled out a number of really, a number of stories that were not flattering to a lot of NFL owners. And although I think it in the past has upset owners, I don't think that there's ever been this, at least I've never heard about it. And I've known Seth for decades. I've never heard of the NFL coming in and putting its foot down and stomping out a story. Now, could that change now that you're an owner? Maybe. I mean, it's definitely possible. But I would tell you this about the NFL too. There's an aspect that the NFL likes about when it would come to like the NFL network during doing certain reporting, the NFL would hold that out as, hey, look, shows we're honest because, we have these national reporters who will air, potentially negative things about our owners or, criticize our owners. It keeps us honest. And I think they played that up quite a bit when Jim Trotter was working there until Jim Trotter wasn't working there. And then it became a massive net negative for them because they moved on from Jim Trotter. But at the time that Jim Trotter was asking Roger Goodell questions, the NFL kind of used that as a badge. They were like, hey, look, we let our reporters ask us really tough, difficult questions that don't necessarily look good on a Super Bowl stage. And so I wonder if that will be sort of an element that plays into this for the NFL with ESPN is when Seth Wickersham's, doing pieces that aren't flattering to owners, or there's things that come out in books that aren't flattering to owners, ESPN can say, hey, that just shows that we're honest about, about what the league is. And, ESPN runs negative coverage and we don't stomp it out. Now let's see if that happens, number one. But number two, I mean, the thing I would probably be a little more worried about if I'm a competing network is I'm sitting there going, well, they're going to make sure ESPN's they own a part of ESPN. That's equity. They're going to make sure they protect their equity. And, ESPN, I would not expect A, to ever get really shorted on packages. B, they'll always be in the mix to broadcast Super Bowls, have, broadcasting rights when it comes to Super Bowls. the NFL draft. I mean, there's all these different properties that I think it behooves the NFL to make sure now, because they're part owners, that's their equity, that ESPN's definitely always taken care of, and there's no question that that's ever going to happen. That's interesting to me. Like if you're Netflix, and Netflix is going to be, everybody across the league's talking about Netflix when 2028, 2029 comes around, and there's going to be some new TV deals. Everyone's talking about Netflix being this juggernaut that wants to drop a ton of money, maybe record-setting money on the next TV package it gets. Well, if I'm Netflix, I'm sitting here going, okay, well, now you own 10% of ESPN. Do I have to worry about that when it comes to ultimately what we're paying for, and where we kind of stand in the running for things? It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. And there's, by the way, NFL Network and ESPN, I'm sure there's some level of duplication between jobs there. And I don't just mean reporters. I mean a lot of different things, producers, editors, all kinds of different things. So I wonder how those two operations will affect each other as well.
Yep, great point on that front. Charles, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us. Hope you get to feeling better, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good, guys. Take care.
Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. Lots to get to from Charles there. We'll get into that coming up next. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hey, Robbie Stanley here. Fantasy football is coming up, and the Twin Peaks Fantasy Football Draft Party Package is for you. It gives league commissioners and its members an elevated, easy experience, along with scenic views, made from scratch food, and the coldest beer in the game. Each package includes a draft board, player stickers, a $50 bonus commissioner bounce back card, $5 bonus card per league member, and more. Call to book your draft party location at the Twin Peaks in Cool Springs or Madison, or visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/fantasy draft for more information. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. I got some tickets to give away. A pair of tickets to see Live and Collective Soul at First Bank Amphitheater coming up this Sunday. Be caller 3, 615-737-1025. Caller 3 will win a pair of tickets to see Live and Collective Soul at First Bank Amphitheater coming up on Sunday, 615-737-1025. Appreciate Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports for being with us in the last segment. Joe, I will say, like, listening to Charles talk there, a couple things stand out. We'll get to the Sean Payton part of this here in just a second. But it is kind of amazing to me that Jerry Jones has let the Micah Parsons situation get to this point where, like, Charles is talking about how it felt like Jerry Jones was thinking about Micah Parsons missing some games a few weeks ago, like back, in the early parts of this discussion. It's like, well, do you not think if you're the owner, you need to do everything you can to avoid letting that happening? Like, it would be one thing if Micah Parsons was like this player that had shown some flashes, but had this big, long laundry list of injury history, and you weren't sure about the durability and all these different things. Like, yeah, Micah Parsons has had some injuries, mostly that he's played through, by the way, and has still been productive. Like, he is, I'm not going to say anybody's a total sure thing, but he's about as close to a sure thing moving forward as it gets, man. Like, it's amazing to me that it's gotten this complicated.
Yeah, I agree. No, I totally agree. I think it's ridiculous. And I'm with Charles. It does feel different. It feels different just in terms of, like, you start to wonder, like, yeah, I mean, Jerry's always been about being in front of the reporters and all this stuff. Again, they have had a high rate of success, really, of collecting talent, of building talented teams. And a lot of guys get second. It's great to be in this position a lot where it's like, now this really good player to great player needs a second deal. And now this one and this one. Well, like, the Titans are looking at that like, gee, we wish we could have that problem more than like Jeff Simmons per decade, Yeah. But I agree. It feels a little bit like, dude, okay, like get a grip on yourself. I mean, 3 first-round pick player. I think Charles may be right about that. I guess to me, it's like if you're the Buffalo Bills right now, right? Yeah. Or you're one of these teams in the AFC where it's like, okay, how do we actually get past those guys? Maybe Kansas City's going to start fading. I don't know. But I mean, like, if you're the Bills and you had to mortgage a whole bunch of future, but you get Micah Parsons on your defense to go with what you have on your offense, like, I mean, I think I might do that because it's like, I mean, I'm winning the freaking Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know 3 first-round picks.
That's the team that
nuts.
does it.
Yeah. But, like, again, we knew, like, when this trade conversation started, you knew it was going to be at least 2, right? Like,
yeah,
he's not going, I don't think, for less than the Khalil Mack package. And I know that was a few years ago, and, the market changes, things change in the NFL. But, like, the idea of some team paying 3 first-round picks, it sounds nuts. It does. But to your point, if it's the right team and he is the level of player that he's been to this point in the NFL, and by the way, from an age standpoint, should be like hitting his prime right now, then there's a big chance that could be worth it. Like, if you're a team like the Bills or the Ravens or whoever that are trying to break down the door and get to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl, I mean, you don't run across a Micah Parsons very often. So again, like, the more we talk about this, the more stupid I think it would be for the Cowboys to actually let this get to the point where they have to trade him. But the 3 first-round picks, I know some people heard that and just immediately were like, well, there's no freaking way I would do that. I think it's worth way more of a conversation than people might think right off the jump.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it's going to be bears very close monitoring here in the coming days. I did want to follow up. Chris in Nashville's asking about the NFL ESPN partnership and wants to hear our thoughts. I think Charles had good stuff there. The Dan Patrick quote that you read, I mean, we just had Don Van Natta and Kalen Kaler, who, of course, as listeners of this show know, is the person who has rebuked me on my my pocket mints. Good reporter instincts there. No, I will not have a pocket mint from your pocket, even though my jeans were clean.
That's
also, a hell of a reporter who works for ESPN now, and they did all that stuff on the the NFLPA stuff and Lloyd Howell. I mean, look, I have no idea. Is it possible that the NFL has tried to suppress something at ESPN? I mean, it's possible. I doubt it. But Patrick saying that now is like, we just had an instance of like really good reporting of very, not favorable things for people in the NFL. I understand it's on the player side, but so first of all, that's kind of an ignorant quote by Dan Patrick. I think it's a worthwhile. Again, my biggest concern is what we talked about when we were at MTSU the other day, which is like, what does this mean for people trying to watch these games? Can we get to where it's not more expensive every time something like this happens? But I don't know. I think ESPN will continue to report independently. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but I don't see, and certainly if they don't, all those people are like Wickersham, they're not gonna be there. They're gonna be gone, and then you'll know.
The biggest problem with like the big national independent, like the reporters right now, whether it's Rappaport or Schefter or all those guys, is like, stop letting agents write your tweets. That would also be great. Like, well, that's independent of the NFL part of it.
And those guys, those aren't reporters. Again, like Schefter, I know that some people think, well, that's the ultimate reporter. They're just getting stuff from agents and breaking news, and it's good for them. But that's, I think,
regurgitators.
Yeah, info merchants. That's what PK. Reporters, people like Wickersham, Kalen, people who get in and find stories. Again, Charles, who are out there actually reporting things and not just blurting out information as they get it on their phone. Those are the people that there's always gonna be breaking news, and this deal happened and that deal had this guy got injured, all that stuff. But are you actually reporting on things like, again, owner collusion, for example, which again was part of that Van Natta Kaler story? That's the stuff that has to continue. And again, if it gets to the point where it's not, then you will know, because those people will revolt. I promise you that.
The Titans will be on the field for their joint practice in Tampa Bay here in less than 20 minutes. We will get into that coming up next. What do we want to see and hear from the Titans today as they take on Tampa Bay? Your thoughts on that as well. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is Boomba's Pizza and Watch Bar, award-winning gourmet pizzas, handcrafted beverages, and you can get swept up in the thrill of live sports at Boomba's Pizza and Watch Bar, your go-to spot for good times. Boomba's has locations in Nashville, Spring Hill, and Murfreesboro, so get half off a $30 gift card while supplies last at thegamenashville.com/deals. Final segment here on Robby and Rexrode. Titans are on the field here in just over 10 minutes down there in Tampa Bay. Apparently it's going to be hot. Kuharski put out the feels like temperature. It's going to be in the very high 90s into the 100s for feels like out there on the field today. So it's going to be hot out there in Tampa Bay. Brian Callahan is addressing the media right now and talking about how much he loves having Quandre Diggs back in the fold. So we'll keep you updated on anything significant that Callahan might say there. But Joe, as we've discussed, a good day for the offense yesterday in practice before the Titans headed down to Tampa Bay. And now they're on the field today against the Buccaneers. And they're one joint practice against Tampa and then the preseason game coming up this weekend. What do you want to see / hear about the Titans and their performance today, both offensively and defensively against Tampa Bay?
Mostly just anything that indicates Cam Ward making good plays against a legit defense, making good throws in the sevens period, making 2-minute red zone, good progress and good recognition of a different scheme. I mean, look, bottom line is when one team is playing against itself, both sides are working on their schemes. So they're going to get used to that. They're going to get used to the other side's scheme. So now you got different looks from a different defense. And that same goes for the Titans defense, but I mean, it's all about Cam Ward, right? Like I'm too obvious here. I'm going to hit the low hanging fruit. It's all about Cam Ward doing some positive things and trying to build on yesterday.
We'll see what happens on that front. I mean, I would love for the offense. We know Todd Bowles and his defense in Tampa is very aggressive. So we know Cam Ward's going to see a lot today. There are going to be a lot of blitz packages that come his way. How do he and the offensive line handle that? And look, it's not of equal interest to me, but I am very fascinated. Like, there's no secret that the Titans defense has gotten the better of the Titans offense to this point in camp. So what does the Titans defense look like against Tampa Bay, right? Like, what do the Titans look like against Baker Mayfield and those receivers who have been highly productive over the last couple of years? That would be one thing that I would love to see and love to know about where exactly is this Titans defense right now? How much of their dominance against the Titans offense to this point in camp is reflection on the Titans offense, or do they go out there today and look pretty good against that Bucs offense? That would be great to see if the Titans defense goes out there and plays pretty well against Tampa Bay today.
Yeah. People talking about carrying the press conference. I mean, we got a couple minutes here, and frankly, I mean, he's talking about some of the same stuff he just talked about yesterday. Like, there's no new information right now from Brian Callahan. He's talking about they're going to play the guys a little bit in the preseason game. He just said that yesterday. So if there's anything notable that Brian Callahan says, you will know. But my guess is, the newsworthy stuff today comes when they hit the field in a few minutes. One quick thing, Robby, that I just sent you guys a tweet. Arch Manning did say in an interview, I forget to who, but he did say that, or Archie Manning said that yes, Arch is not going to go to the draft after next year. So there you go.
Via Texas Monthly, yes. There you go,
Texas Monthly.
If you've been listening to this show, which is a 0% surprise because that's what the Mannings do. And I've been trying to tell people that for months, that he's not going to go out of the draft this year. But we'll see.
I mean, I still think, like, if he is, like, he wins the Heisman and wins it all and he's incredible and he's clearly going to be the number one pick, then you get into, well, you are exposing yourself to a year of injury potential by not going. So, I mean, I wouldn't put it at 0, but I think a lot of people are putting it at 100 that he's going, and that's just absolutely not the way to look at it.
I would put it at 90-10. He's back, and that may be conservative for me. It's how they operate. It's how they've always operated. He's not hurt for money or anything like that. I think he's always struck me as someone who will be finishing out his college experience. So we'll see what exactly that looks like. Some of that also could be like who's got the number one pick at the end of the year. right? If you look around, it's like, well, it's Jacksonville down there, and they're done with Trevor Lawrence. Not going to do that. I mean, apparently, Dennis Daly just retired. He'd rather retire than play for the Jags.
What if it's the Titans?
Well, I don't know.
They're not going to take a quarterback. I don't think.
I don't think so.
I mean, that'd be what a news cycle that would be that we will have gone through if it's like the Titans and then we're picking it. Yeah, you better believe they're taking a quarterback. Oh boy.
Yeah, that'd be something. That would be something. So I guess something to keep an eye on there on the Arch Manning front, but we'll see what that looks like. Again, Brian Callahan talking about how the starters are going to play, but they've not finalized how much they're going to play. So interested to see the practice today. You know, will Cam Ward look like he's got a clue out there? And can they avoid turning the football over with any sort of consistency today? Didn't turn it over yesterday. Cam Ward looked good in the team period yesterday, 15 of 19 on the day as a whole. So protecting the football against this aggressive Tampa Bay defense today would be probably priority one of what I would like to see.
One thing I fully expect to hear about and maybe see video of is Jeff Simmons being a problem for the Bucs. So I'll be surprised if that's not the case. I'm on the record that right now, the way he is moving his body,
all pro,
he's going to be very difficult to block. And he looks healthy. Now that's a big thing too, right? Can you keep him healthy? There's a guy that would play one snap in the preseason. I don't think we'll see him play one snap.
You going all pro for Jeff Simmons this year?
I don't know about that, but like I think that what he did is the right approach. I think more agility and hoping that like the tandem with Sweat and his power gives them a really nice tandem that is just gives an offense just a really tough choice on how you're going to deal with both of them together. So I like if you tell me right now that Jeff Simmons is going to be a Pro Bowler at the end of the year, I'm not blinking. Now, again, I'm watching. I mean, this is practice, so I get it. But the body has changed, and it's changed for the better. There's no question about that.
Paul Kuharsky will be with us tomorrow in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll get his thoughts on everything that he sees today and the joint practice between the Titans and the Bucs. We'll have TD on the program tomorrow as well. So we got a lot of Titans talk coming your way on tomorrow's show. That is going to do it for us today here on the program. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.